Understanding Judaism and Zionism thanks to Israel Shahak's book Jewish History, Jewish Religion, The Laws Against Non-Jews, Abuse, following. In paragraph 545, dealing with the religious obligation to exact interest on money lent to Gentiles, the law is stated as follows: that we are commanded to demand interest from Gentiles when we lend money to them, and we must not lend to them without interest. The explanation is, quote, and at the root of this religious obligation is that we should not do any act of mercy except to the people who know God and worship Him. And when we refrain from doing merciful deed to the rest of mankind, and do so only to the former, we are being tested that the main part of love and mercy to them is because they follow the religion of God, blessed be He. Behold, with this intention, our reward from God when we withhold mercy from the others is equal to that for doing merciful deeds to members of our own people. End of quote. Similar distinctions are made in numerous other passages in explaining the ban against delaying a worker's wage, number 238. The author is careful to point out that the sin is less serious if the worker is Gentile. The prohibition against cursing is entitled not to curse any Jew, whether man or woman. Similarly, the prohibitions against giving misleading advice, hating other people, shaming them, or taking revenge on them apply only to fellow Jews. The ban against following Gentile customs means that Jews must not only remove themselves from Gentiles, but also speak ill of all their behavior, even of their dress. It must be emphasized that the explanations quoted above do represent correctly the teaching of the Halakha. The rabbis, and even worse, the apologetic scholars of Judaism, know this very well, and for this reason they do not try to argue against such views inside the Jewish community, and of course they never mention them outside it. Instead, they vilify any Jew who raises these matters within earshot of Gentiles, and they issue deceitful denials in which the art of equivocation reaches its summit. For example, they state, using general terms, the importance which Judaism attaches to mercy. But what they forget to point out is that, according to the Halakha, mercy means mercy towards Jews only. Anyone who lives in Israel knows how deep and widespread these attitudes of hatred and cruelty towards all Gentiles are among the majority of Israeli Jews. Normally, these attitudes are disguised from the outside world, but since the establishment of the State of Israel, the 1977 war, and the rise of Begin, a significant minority of Jews, both in Israel and abroad, have gradually become more open about such matters. In recent years, the inhuman precepts according to which servitude is the natural lot of Gentiles have been publicly quoted in Israel, even on TV, by Jewish farmers exploiting Arab labor, particularly child labor. Gush Emunim leaders have quoted religious precepts which enjoin Jews to oppress Gentiles as a justification of the attempted assassination of Palestinian mayors as divine authority for their own plan to expel all the Arabs from Palestine. While many Zionists reject these positions politically, their standard counter-arguments are based on considerations of expediency and Jewish self-interest rather than on universally valid principles of humanism and ethics. For example, they argue that the exploitation and oppression of Palestinians by Israelis tends to corrupt Israeli society, or that the expulsion of the Palestinians is impracticable under present political conditions, or that Israeli acts of terror against the Palestinians tend to isolate Israel internationally. In principle, however, virtually all Zionists, and in particular left Zionists, share the deep anti-Gentile attitudes which Orthodox Judaism keenly promotes.